Last time on the smartest guys in the room, we had started seeing the ship sink, and well, let's see how Enron doesn't get out of this. They get fucked and they fuck up everything. Here, let's start.
This is Crimson 60620. Thank you for watching my video. Also, you can catch me on these social media platforms. And if you want to see some great art, hit my art page up. And finally, support Patreon. Thanks.
Alright, guys. So, sorry, just was trying to unwind some more for the rest of the day, and time got away from me. So, and I promised you guys I was going to do some more streaming. Give me a second. Let's not ruin the illusion. I don't have a green screen behind me. I have a. I'm in the game. Woo. So, before we actually get started, I want to actually talk about why I play Conan Exiles, while I'm talking about quite literally. Damn. Why I play Conan Exiles while I'm talking about quite literally the worst the worst economic system in the world. Because Conan Exiles, however brutal and oppressive and downright deadly, whatever this system is, it's still, it is still more, what would you say? It's still less oppressive than the capitalist system that we have now. And so, yeah, that's the thing. And that's why I play this game whenever I talk about shit where we're talking about how capitalism is fucking us all over. Because this, even though it's a video game, and even though you can have a game where you have, okay, let's just be honest, a game where you have slaves. This is at least more palatable than some of the capitalist systems that we have. Because it's in your face. And they're fucking honest about it. By the way, I have two of this. Damn it. I need some more food for this thrall to be converted on the wheel of pain. I'm actually right now just being an asshole. Alright, so let's get this straw going. Cooked oyster. Well, now this shit tastes. Alright, so let's get this straw going. Not the good meat. So we were just watching this, and sorry that I had so many issues last time. For some reason, OBS was just not was not feeling good. So let's start.
Time. One is Enron, a superstar company, and the other of feeling like it was all crumbling away.
The first cracks in Skilling's public image appeared in a conference call with analysts in April 2001.
And then Jeff Skilling took questions. And about midway through the session, there was a questioner who was sort of aggressively wondering out loud why it was that Enron, as a financial services company, in effect, could not release a balance sheet with its earnings statement like most financial institutions do.
You're the only financial institution that can't produce a balance sheet or a cash flow statement with their earnings.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Asshole.
And then quite audibly.
So, damn. Dude was like, hey, you're not releasing an earnings report. Your fiduciary responsibility is to make sure that we can show where the money is going. Fiduciary responsibility. Companies actually believe that shit. Well, that kind of is true. The only people they're actively honest with are shareholders, but, you know. Where's this Thrall? Come here, Thrall. I want you to kill shit. Give me that. But yeah, he's losing it. And it's there for the world to see. But let's continue.
You could hear Skilling say, asshole.
And then he said, asshole.
As I understand, you call him an asshole.
And this just caused unbelievable amounts of consternation all across Wall Street because people thought a Fortune 500 CEO losing it like this, publicly calling an investor an asshole.
If I could go back and redo things, I would not now have used the term that I used.
Mark Palmer, Enron's chief PR guy, even ran a note up to Skilling telling him to apologize, and he just took the piece of paper and tucked it under the pile of papers on his desk. And afterwards, Enron's traders, who had erupted in cheers when Skilling called this guy an asshole, made him a sign. There was a play off Enron's motto, Ask Why, and the sign said, Ask Why, asshole.
My personal feeling was that Jeff looked at the numbers, and he knew that we were in a massive hole. It was...
So, the people that were... And this is one of the things that I hate that you see a lot with companies who just focus on the making the money aspect of things. They breed a culture of money over everything. And you know, that sounds like a great fucking rap lyric, but when it comes to like how you run your company, the shit isn't all that cool. This is not like it's not cool to run your company like that. And why won't this motherfucker attack? Come on! Okay. So we need a system reset on this motherfucker, but let's continue.
The only time, but I saw him truly, truly worried about keeping the stock price up. And he just kept saying to me, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do.
The broadband business was in complete meltdown. And there were all sorts of other problems that Jeff Skilling, as the company's chief operating officer, was wrestling with. In the middle of all of this, Ken Lay walks into Jeff Skilling's office holding up fabric swatches for the new G5 $45 million corporate jet he wanted to buy. And he said to Jeff, asked him a very important question, which of these cabin configurations do you like best, Jeff?
While Ken Lay was stressing over the corporate jet, EES was headed for a...
So, he knows that the motherfucker is taking on... The Titanic has hit the iceberg, and the water's in the first few compartments. But let's continue.
Crash landing.
Oh, and the captain of the ship is like, "Ooh, look, Boaty, Ice Cube." But let's continue.
Facing $500 million in losses, Lou Pie's top lieutenant, Tom White, wondered how EES could show a profit by the end of the quarter.
One of the things that was always a strange occurrence at Enron was for weeks before a quarterly report, we would be under the impression that we weren't going to make our numbers. But then somehow miraculously, we always made the numbers and then some. But then a question was asked to Tom White, how is it that we made the numbers? And his answer was one word, California.
So, Yeah, they. So by now were they were struggling, and like Skilling had already been upset because like he knew that they were stressing, and it was just like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? We're gonna do. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And you had seen the history of them, kind of like saying, okay, what the fuck is going on? Like, really, like what the fuck is going on? And everybody's like, hey, some people are starting to question that chink in that armor is actually turned into a full blown hole, and motherfucking swords are coming through and shit, and it's not looking good. But let's look at what happened, and of course with them buying P&E or whatever, the Portland Pacific Energy or whatever the fucking is, they moved into this market. So let's look at it. I wish they wouldn't play this music like this. Okay. Let's
The
do
first
this.
clues to Enron's new strategy hit California with a jolt.
It started at noon, rolling across.
Yeah, because I got hit with a copyright claim. But yeah, let's hear about California.
Across the state, Sacramento, San Francisco, Beverly Hills, Long Beach, San Diego.
26,000 miles of California power lines, enough to circle the earth. But for the second day in a row, not enough electricity for America's largest state and the world's 6th largest economy.
The first thing we heard about this energy crisis is where our lights are going to go off in the middle of winter when we're using half the electricity we normally use during the summer.
The Bay Area got hit by not one, but 2 rolling blackouts today.
We only need 28,000 to 30,000 megawatts in December. We have an installed capacity in California at the time of 45,000 megawatts. Plenty of power to meet our electric demand. Of course, we had blackouts in December.
So they know that they're making enough profits. They know they're making enough profits in order to make sure that they're making enough electricity to fucking not. Where's this power going? Where the fuck is this power going? Why aren't there any power? But you'll see. So let's hear.
People who control California's power grid say once again they're worried about having to black out the northern half of the state.
When the rolling blackouts started in California, there was definitely a lot of excitement in the air. It was something new. It was something that hadn't been encountered before. It was, how is this event going to affect the price of power?
Controlled rotating outages are being implemented.
I knew that there was illegality going on. I could feel it, I could smell it, I could sense it, and there was no other explanation. Because the numbers just didn't add up. We had enough power in California. It was never about lack of supply.
When I ran for governor in 1998, not one human being asked me about electricity. This thing kind of came out of the woods as far as I was concerned, and I was trying in the early days to learn what was happening, how we could fix the problem.
California was selected by Enron as the prime place to experiment with this new concept of deregulated electricity.
Reducing electricity costs is only one benefit from choice and competition.
In 1996, under pressure from energy companies, Governor Pete Wilson and the California legislature passed a bill allowing for the deregulation of electricity.
I wasn't in the legislature in 1996, but I can tell you that there isn't a legislator alive that can...
So, because of pressure from different energy companies, California deregulated. And it didn't happen in a lot of states. It actually is even happening in my state of Illinois. And it's not mad. In some cases, it's been really helpful to people. Some cases, it's been really detrimental. When I say really detrimental, I mean like fucking really detrimental. So and you get shit like this. So let's hear it. Let's hear it.
tell you with any sophistication how a deregulated electricity market ought to work. Not a one.
California's deregulated system was a bizarre compromise between legislators and free market advocates. The rules were complicated and hard to follow. Inside Enron, California's system was little more than a joke. And once in place, Enron made sure that the joke would be on California.
And I remember the conversation I'd had with Ken. At the end of it, he says, well, Dave, old buddy, let me just tell you, it doesn't matter really to us what kooky rules you Californians put in place. I got a bunch of really smart people down there who figure out how to make money anyhow.
One of the smartest guys at Enron was Tim Belden, who ran the West Coast trading desk.
Tim Belden was a fervent believer in the idea of free markets, and as such, he spent hours poring over the new rules for the deregulation of California's energy industry, looking for loopholes that Enron could exploit to make money.
He found plenty. After the bankruptcy, a confidential memo surfaced revealing the names of Belden's strategies to game the California market.
So, and this is where, okay, so I'm an advocate of not quote-unquote bigger government. I'm more of an advocate for government that is big enough to make sure shit is regulated properly. And what do I mean by that? I mean that the government is supposed to be referee. And in some cases, the referee shouldn't let certain shit stand. For instance, I'm for Medicare for all. Because I've seen what companies do when they have a free market to fuck with. Especially with insurance. I don't want to leave that to a fucking profit motive. And when people say, well, I don't want some Washington bureaucrat controlling my health care, but you will want some private city bureaucrat controlling your private sector bureaucrat controlling your health care, that's one thing that I fucking never got. You would rather have some private company bureaucrat which you have has no fucking accountability to you than somebody that you can actually vote in and out of office. So I never understood that. And so I say this rant because it's like, this is when you happen when you deregulate. This is what happened when you let companies have free reign. This libertarian bullshit. They start coming up with shit to make sure that they can always fucking make money. And not only that, they entice people that, I'm not going to say they have a bad moral compass, but their moral compass can be purchased. And with people like that, they're going to say, okay, it's beneficial for me to make motherfucking money. And you're always going to get this, the people that always want to prove that they're the smartest is always going to try to prove that they can make the most money. Because they have something in them. They have something in them where they have to compete. And you know, shit, maybe I'm like that a little bit too. Welcome to YouTube. But a lot of these people, like, that's why you got such a decline in such a doctor's program in a lot of cases. Because the smart people are actually working at fucking places like Enron and shit. So, wait, where's my throw? Okay, there it goes. They looking for different ways to make money and help with the profit motive. Well, let's continue. And just to point out, this man had plots and plans like he was some cut rate Bond villain. Like, you actually have plans for this shit, dog? But let's continue.
Wheel out. Get Shorty. Fat Boy. Recently, audio tapes of the Enron traders were discovered.
What do you want to call this project? I have a catchy name for that. How about, something friendly like Death Star?
The tapes revealed Enron's contempt for any values except one: making money.
Oh, wow. That's just fucked up.
Regulatory is all in a big concern about is we're wheeling power out of California. He just steals money from California to the tune of $1 million. Can you rephrase that? Okay. He arbitrages the California market to the tune of $1 million.
So he know. They know they fucking stealing. They know that they're just being manipulative. How the fuck? God. At some point, you're making this money and you're devaluing other human beings. You're devaluing them to the point where it's like, profits over everything. Money over everything. MOE. Shit. No. Let's continue. Forget, this isn't a YouTube. This is actually DVD.
An arbitrage opportunity has been defined to me as any opportunity to make abnormal profit. So an abnormal profit would be returns above and beyond the norm. I was told that a good trader is a creative trader, and a creative trader is a trader that can find arbitrage opportunities.
One of those opportunities was called Ricochet.
I'll see you guys. I'm taking mine to the desert.
In the midst of the energy shortages, Enron traders started to export power out of the state. When prices soared, they brought it back in.
So we fucking export like a motherfucker. You're getting rich. Trying to.
What the hell? So, shit. Like, I remember it being bad when they described it, but it's like, okay, let's call artificial scarcity. And now that we call this artificial scarcity, let's bring the power back in. Like, for real, dog? For real? You really doing this, man? You're really doing this. Like, God, how heartless are you? Like, that's heartless. Like, oh yeah, no, we're gonna make millions of dollars exploiting, one of the biggest economies because of reasons. Let's continue.
Traders would stay after a 12-hour shift and pore over maps of the Western energy grid. What are the permutations and combinations of ways to move power around the West? And I think that's something that Enron knew better than any other energy marketer in the country, period.
We know all of the California imports. We know all of the California load.
We're getting pretty spoiled on with this money. You said you were getting a little scared. We're making a little too much, and I tend to agree with you.
These are two traders, Traders. This is what they say. What we did was overbook the transmission line we have the rights on and said to California utilities, if you want to use the line, pay us. By the time they agreed to meet our price, rolling blackouts had already hit California, and the price for electricity went through the roof. Did you have any knowledge that this was happening?
The only thing that I'm aware of, Senator, is there was a difference of opinion on the rules of the independent system operator. It was just set up. The rules weren't quite clear.
We have traders here from Enron who were saying they did something wrong, but you don't see anything wrong. I have one last question, and then I am done.
God damn, I fucking hate Diet Coke. They're the fucking brand of a lot of motherfucking assholes. Like this one, smug asshole, and Trump, the stupid asshole. I'm sorry, it's product placement in the Senate here. How fucking capitalist is that? And if I was fucking Diet Coke, I would fucking have an issue. Hold on 1 second, guys. But let's continue.
Traders soon discovered that by shutting down power plants, they could create artificial shortages that would push prices even higher.
Hey, this is David up at Enron. There's not much demand for power at all, and if we shut it down, could you bring it back up in 3 or 4 hours?
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you just go ahead and shut her down then, if that's okay?
Okay. When you see 2 or 3 energy companies with 30, 35% of their entire capacity down for maintenance on a single day. And as a result, the price of electricity skyrocketing 300 or 400%, and then a week later, someone else does it up in Northern California. You begin to believe something's not smelling right here.
I want you guys to get a little creative.
Okay.
So they were artificially causing these blackouts. Like, oh my fuck, like, really? You were like, okay, we're gonna make as much money as we can. And you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna artificially create blackouts. The height of the hubris of these people is mind-boggling. All for $1? And then when I ask people that says businesses got to make money, this is the shit that they have. This is the shit that they do to make money. Come on now. This is the shit that they do money. Oh, why don't you close for maintenance? Oh, there isn't a big demand for power. Why don't you close for maintenance? And they're doing that just to trace a profit. That's fucking heartless. And then for Skillet to sit back and say, oh, I didn't know it was happening. I didn't know it was happening. I just didn't know it was happening. That's the fuck you did, man. Let's continue.
And come up with a reason to go down.
Like a forced outage type thing.
Right.
Those guys, at the flip of a switch, could just yank the California economy on its leash whenever they wanted to, and they did it, and they did it, and they did it, and they made so much money.
The heart of it is that an industry that went for 100 years, from the days of Edison, built the best electrical system in the world, sold the power at reasonable prices to consumers, and was very reliable, was all of a sudden turned into a casino.
These strategies made some money for Enron, but the real money was made by betting that the price of energy would go up. It did, and the West Coast traders made nearly $2 billion for Enron.
Okay, so let's just think about that. Not only did they control the means of making the power, but they also started betting on the fucking money. They literally says, we're gonna hedge our bets because reasons. Stop following me right now. Okay, cool. And they said, we're gonna hedge our bet because we're gonna control the table, and like they took all the risks out of the market for the most part because they was bleeding money everywhere. And people still say businesses have to business. Let's continue.
You can't treat electricity like you treat oranges. It's the lifeblood of the society. It can't be stored. You can't turn these people loose and let them just have a, quote, free market, because a free market is goddamn expensive to customers.
There would be ample supply available at the right fucking price.
Oh, sure there would.
It wasn't just Enron. Every company traded according to the rules that California put up there.
And we're the future of Enron. And we're fucking making $500 million for Enron. Can you believe that? Yeah. We'll definitely retire by we're 30.
We're talking about a commodity that normally trades in the $35 to $45 range. High prices are when it gets in the 50s. Or $1,000.
Prices aren't going to stay at $1,000 forever. It weeds out the weak people in the market.
So this is one of the things that kind of gets me about all the traditional energy companies or fossil fuel companies. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing is fucking with people. They know what they're doing is fucking with people, and yet still they still fucking do it because companies got to profit, yo. come on, man, we gotta go hunt some shit. And God damn it, like, and then they're brazen about it. They're just like, oh, we got it. Companies got to profit, yo. And it's just, it's. How could you be so fucking heartless? I think that's my problem. It's like people just are heartless because companies got to profit. Let's continue. Oh, and this whole economic Darwinism, that you missed the point of what Darwin was trying to say, and you perverted it. Weeded out the weak people in the market. It's electricity. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Oh, what did I do? There we go.
Get rid of them, and you know what? The people who are strong will stick around.
And the Enron traders never seem to step back and say, wait, is what we're doing ethical? Is it in our best long-term interests? Does it help us if we totally rape California? Does that advance our goals of nationwide deregulation? Instead, they sought out every loophole they could in order to profit from California's misery.
And you know what? That point right there is just indicative of what a lot of companies actually do. They say, what's the best for the quarter? How can I make my money? Never long-term goals. It's just like, when are they going to change the playbook to say, hey, we're fucking over everything? Let's not. But let's continue.
Temperatures in California are hitting higher than 100 degrees, fueling wildfires and fears that California's strained power grid could once again near collapse.
What's happening? There's a fire under the core line. It's been derated from 45 to 2100. Burn, baby, burn. That's a beautiful thing.
I was never...
So, wow. Like, they're celebrating. Out and out celebrating. Oh, damn it. Where's my helmet? I gotta go back. They're out and out celebrating. Not like they want outages. And now, hey, shit. We don't even have to worry about artificially creating any. Nature has done it itself by fucking fires. And it was a fear that didn't have to be there from the first time. But now all these guys are just making all sorts of fucking money. Just, it's depressing. But let's continue.
Comfortable on the trading floor at Enron. And if I had questions, I didn't ask them because I didn't want to know the answer. I didn't want confirmed what I suspected might be true. That what I was doing was in fact unseemly, or was at least unethical, if not worse.
Why did the traders do what they did? Was it their multi-million-dollar bonuses? Or had Enron found a way to exploit the darker side of human behavior?
In the early 60s, Stanley Milgram.
I have the duty to say that, okay, he wasn't in blackface or orange face. He was actually in red face. He looked like a demon. And I take offense for people who look down on our demonic brothers and sisters. Oh, fucking with you. All right, let's go.
Tried to figure out what characteristics there were of evil people. Was there an evil strain, or could normal people do really bad things? And so he set up this experiment. In the experiment, he had an actor playing an experimental subject.
So let me set up this story. And yeah, she's going to explain it. And this is like indicative of a lot we see nowadays. Well, we just let him play the story. Let's go.
And a real experimental subject.
You want to step right in here, learner, and have a seat there.
They went into this room, and he had an experimenter say, we're going to see if mild electric shocks will help people memorize lists.
Incorrect.
You'll now get a shock of 75 volts. Soft hair. He kind of did some yelling in there.
The Milgram experiment has a lot to say about Enron because I think people lost their sense of morality. Like Milgram, once you accepted the idea that behaving inhumanely was okay, you could do anything. And the shocks increased with the number of mistakes that they made.
Exactly.
You can't stand it. I'm not going to kill that man, eh?
The subject, the real subject, is begging the scientist-looking person to stop too, and the scientist only says the experiment requires that you continue.
Please continue. Go on, please.
You accept all the responsibility?
The responsibility is mine, correct. Please go on.
In a way, Skilling was almost like the guy telling those people below him that it was okay to up the power.
Go on.
So let's just do my review of it. Let me explain it in my way. So the experiment was simply, how far can you push somebody to go when, you know, the orders for it continue seem to be coming from an authority? How far would people go? Would they go even far enough to kill them if they were just following orders? That's the way things are. We've always done it this way. How far would somebody go? And I know I did the joke about the monkeys and this is similar to something like that about the training, the real experience with the monkeys a little bit more in detail, but so the doctor and the other participant, which they're both actors, would have the real test subject come into the room. And that real test subject would be told, let's test people's memory. Let's see if people will remember better with some negative reinforcement. Yeah. So if you don't do what I say, we're going to shock the shit out of you. And the more you mess up, the more you get messed up. Come on, I don't want to fucking... I was going to say I didn't want a fucking head, but, you know. Anyway, so... And they would progressively get worse. And most of the subjects just kept going because they were told. They didn't just say, oh, well, no, I'm going to kill somebody. It's like, if you're telling me to do it, if you're telling me to kill somebody, because that's what this professional looking guy says, then let's do it. Are you going to kid him, dude? Let's go.
20 volts.
California's electric utilities may have to pull the plug on millions of customers.
It's the fucking coolest thing I've done in a long time.
Yeah, holy fuck, yeah.
You gotta love the West.
Oh. 435 volts.
During the height of Wednesday's blackout, fire crews had to free people trapped in elevators.
All those money you guys stole from those poor grandmothers of California? Yeah, Grandma Millie, man. But she's the one who couldn't figure out how to fucking vote on the butterfly ballot. Now she wants her fucking money back for all the power you charged right up her ass.
450 volts.
Yeah, they're out. And look, they're just gleeful about the shit. They're gleeful about the shit. They're gleeful that, oh well, you know, they were stupid enough to do this. They should actually do this now. Fucking thrall kill him. But let's continue. Okay, I wish they, like...
You're gonna keep giving what, 450 volts every shot now? That's correct. Continue.
It's kind of hard.
So, like, this is the shit that you hear. Like, you hear the shit, like they are... They're just being just assholes to these people. Like... And then they joke and laugh about, oh, you're stealing from these grandmas and shit like that. And it's like, okay, no, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We need to make this money. But let's continue.
To say, well, we shouldn't do this even though it's allowed because, I mean, that's what we do. Right. The best that could happen is fucking an earthquake. Let that thing float out to the Pacific and put them fucking candles.
Boys, 450 volts.
Milgram's discovery was disturbing. 50% of the subjects were willing to shock to the death, so long as the commands came from a seemingly legitimate source.
Yeah, they're out there having fun. Living warm California sun.
Tonight I'm declaring a state of emergency in California.
So, and they said it. They fucking said it. Well, they allowed us to do it, so we might as well just fucking do it. Come on, man. What the fuck is going on with you? Oh my god. Please don't tell me I have to reset this motherfucking game. But yeah, they was like, oh, we're going to do it because they allowed us to do it. We can get away with it. But let's continue. While I disconnect and reconnect.
To give the state the authority and the resources to keep the lights on in California.
The governor, who's been basically capitulating to the demands of the energy companies and the utility companies, needs to put his foot down.
We wanted the governor to send in the state police or the National Guard to seize control of the power plants and put them back online.
And I thought we didn't have to take over every plant. We really only had to take over one, because then they would know he meant it.
I'm going to get the $9 billion back that Enron, Dynergy, and Reliant stole from us and get it back to you.
Despite what the people in California think, Enron's making money despite California, not because of California.
The year-long energy crisis would cost the state of California $30 billion.
Damn! $30 billion! Because Enron traders were looking to make fucking money this way. Wow. And sorry guys if I'm going in and out. I guess this player is like really not good with my motherfucking computer, but let's continue.
The markets in California are the most regulated markets in North America today.
Bullshit!
And that's what's causing the problem. California is never deregulated. Enron buy stock today.
We are doing the right thing. You're the good guys. We are the good guys. We are on the side of angels.
Oh, I can't help myself. You know what the difference is between the state of California and the Titanic? And this is being webcast. I know I'm going to regret this. At least when the Titanic went down, the lights were on.
Wow. That's a harmless piece of shit.
A top executive at one of America's biggest power companies received a raucous welcome in San Francisco tonight. Protesters heckled Enron CEO.
That was a heartless piece of shit to say. Wow. Let's continue.
Jeffrey Skilling outside and inside during his appearance at the Commonwealth Club. One of the protesters even brought a blueberry pie and delivered it herself.
$132 million is what he made. We have a 50% hike in utility rates.
Consumers in California are angry.
and they should be. And if we had anything to do with this, then we are the stupidest people in the world.
I work for an organization. Every day people call saying they can't pay their electricity bill.
Millions of dollars off in California.
When the tidal wave of public anger started to grow, Ken Lay flew out here and convened a meeting of friends, and I guess he had a little more foresight than we did. He invited Arnold Schwarzenegger, brought him together at the Peninsula Hotel, and had a lunch meeting. The notes from that meeting really still have never surfaced, but...
So, Ken Lay was like, yo, let's get this shit going. Let's make sure that, and this is super crashing my frame rate right now, but Ken Lay actually had this, he was the PR guy at this point. He was just the PR guy at this point. And so, yeah, that was a thing. And he was like, oh, let's invite Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't know, for some reasons. But let's continue.
We know that Ken Lay's pitch was, we've got to stay the course with deregulation and the market will correct itself and everything will turn out fine. Now, at the time, we didn't understand really why he was so concerned, but now we do. The fact is that Ken Lay was out here because he understood that Enron itself was a house of cards. And if deregulation were to collapse, that Enron itself would collapse.
But Ken Lay had a trump card. In the midst of the energy crisis, his friend George W. Bush became president.
So he was, with all this going on, he was pulling his political favors. And this is the reason why we need to take money out of politics, because you friends with all of these people because you want fucking favors. You want to actually say, hey, George, hey, Arnold, help me out with all this bullshit. And cover up illegal activities that a lot of these companies are fucking doing because they need to make motherfucking money. Companies gotta profit, yo. But let's continue.
I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
Ken Lay's going to be Secretary of Energy? Get out of here. No. How great would that be for all the players in the market?
It'd be great. I'd love to see Ken Lay be Secretary of Energy.
Ken Lay did have easy access to the Bush administration. On April 17th, he met with Vice President Dick Cheney and strongly argued against the imposition of federal price caps in California.
We're doing everything we can to help in California on a short-term basis. There's not a lot you can do. You can't manufacture kilowatts.
You literally manufacture kilowatts. You literally do. You literally manufacture kilowatts. Fucking need to drag demon blood. You literally manufacture kilowatts. That's what power is. That's how power works. Shit. And really, fucking Dick Cheney, old Dracula himself, the guy who said deficits don't exist when it's your motherfucking people that's actually running shit. But let that be motherfucking progressives that want to pay for. I'm ranting. I'm doing an old man rant. I'm sorry. But let's continue.
West Wing of the White House.
We're fighting with both hands tied behind our back. We no longer have the power to stop this. If the federal government doesn't help us, we're a dead duck.
At the time, Gray Davis was a likely candidate to run for president. Ken Lay knew that might give his friend George Bush a political reason to oppose California's appeals for federal price controls.
They know full well my administration's belief that price controls will not solve the problem.
His view was that the federal government really shouldn't get involved. This is California's problem. And I'm saying, with all due respect, Mr. President, our law said the federal government regulates this. So it is your problem. And you make appointments to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. So we had a polite but spirited discussion on that. And he says, I just can't be of help to you on that.
As I said from the very beginning.
So because he was friends with Ken Lay, he's like, oh, no. We can't do anything about it. And we all know George Bush wasn't the smartest, the sharpest knife in the toolbox. Shit. I wish we never have a president as dumb as... Oh. But let's continue.
My administration will work to help California in any way we can.
Soda
And the best way we can is to be good citizens.
Damn it, I need the soda.
FERC, the federal agency which regulates energy in America, refused to intervene.
What was FERC doing, and why was it not taking action?
The chairman of FERC was Pat Wood, the man Ken Lay had personally recommended for the job.
So, not only did they just not do anything, but they actively appointed somebody who wasn't going to do anything whatsoever. Now, I get that there are people who like limited government. I fucking get it. I get why they don't want to be... I get why they don't want to be controlled by some government offices in fucking... You know, in a part of the country that they would never go to themselves, a part of the country that they would never live in themselves. I get that. But you're going to put your hands and your future, your children's future, in the hands of corporations? I don't get that. Because what's going to end up happening is, and what did happen is, these corporations are looking for fucking profit. Now, one of the things that happened because of the stance of a lot of these private interests that got elected to public offices, it's like, okay, we're going to play on that fear that you don't want to be governed by someone in a faraway city. And with us playing on that fear, we're going to also not do shit while somebody is fucking robbing you blind. That's what they played on. This deregulation bullshit is just a way of saying we don't want to fucking fight the corporations because we used to be part of them or they're our friends. So us not doing anything is not helping anybody. We're not protecting you from the auspices of these corporations because we want them to do what they're doing because they're making money. And I'm sorry. Money is good to help fucking eat and live and all that other good shit. And if you really want to help me make money, you can actually help either support my channel or subscribe to my Patreon. But in the end, you're fucking over people. That shit isn't cool. And the fact that this whole deregulation kick was just a way for a lot of other companies to make fucking money. But let's continue.
It was easy for FERC to do Enron's bidding because all they had to do was do nothing, which they did very well.
Federal regulators are being pressured to act by the now Democratic-controlled Senate, where hearings...
A Democratic Senate forced FERC to impose regional price caps. That ended the...
Shit. That sounded so good when it was heard. When I heard that. A Democratic Senate. Too bad we don't have that shit now. Hell. When we had them, they weren't even too effective. Maybe we should actually change that shit. But let's continue. Oh, only had 25 minutes ago.
Energy crisis, but not the political one.
Did Ken Lay and George Bush have a political agenda to blame the energy crisis on Gray Davis? And
Hello?
It's one of those only in California stories. The state's unpopular governor, Gray Davis, beset by an ailing economy and a $38 billion budget deficit, faces possible recall. And rumored as a possible replacement for Davis, movie star Arnold Schwarzenegger.
The Terminator? We'll see whether he's back or not.
Gray Davis has terminated opportunities, and now it's time we terminate Gray Davis.
And this is the fucking... Like, they put another fucking useful idiot in there. Like, they lost the small battle. They did. They lost the small battle. When Congress was like, nah, dog. Specifically, the Senate was like, nah, dog. We can't have you keep doing this. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. We're going to have you fucking set caps back so we can make sure these people can actually pay their electricity bill. But let's continue.
Could I predict a phony energy crisis as a result of deregulation? Yes. Could I predict that Arnold Schwarzenegger would be our governor as a result of deregulation? Never would have come up with that. That's like a bad science fiction movie.
Apparently we have all been wrong. It is pronounced California. Ladies and gentlemen, the governor of the great state of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And dude, like, everybody was fucking happy. People in the media was like, oh, fuck, we have... And this is like the celebrity fucking that a lot of people want to do. They were in love with Arnold. Too bad by the end of his term, he actually started doing some of the shit that you had to do as a fucking governor of California. Because fucking reasons. Because you can't screw that many people over and just be like, okay, yeah, so that's the thing, and fucking get away with it. You can't. But shit, let's continue. And by the way, I remember when he won. He was talking about, let's have a change in the Constitution. To have foreign-born people to, be able to become president. It was fucking horrible how many people that were just salivating over the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger had won. And it's this whole celebrity. I'm doing an old man rant again. I'm sorry. Let's continue. Oh, God.
We could just hear rumbles all the way up and down Main Street here and all throughout the city that things were very difficult at Enron. One guy who a year before had come to me and said, I'm working for Enron, I was very excited, but within a year was waking up every night with nightmares. I've got no life left, and I feel like I'm being consumed by this company.
As doubts began to surface about the company and the erratic behavior of its CEO.
Shit, he got me out of nowhere. So, people's sense of morality start fucking with them. And it's just like, we saw it earlier with Jeff Skillett calling somebody an asshole where, like, the stress was starting to get to him. Now you just get now you starting to see it's just like, shit. What am I doing? And I don't mean with the game. It's just like, people are actually starting to say, like, what am I doing? Am I fucking hurting people? And it's getting nasty out there. But let's continue.
Enron's stock began to fall.
I remember one of the most poignant meetings I'd ever had with Jeff. I had left Enron, and I had come over to talk about whether or not I would return to Enron. I said, Jeff, you've got a real problem. The traders, they will cut your throat if they think it will get them to the trough sooner. Jeff was silent. And he looked out the window, and he looked back at me and he said, yeah, Amanda, you're most likely right. By the end, the traders ran Enron. You know, the inmates had taken over the asylum.
All through the summer, the stock continued to decline. There was a buzz that a major announcement was going to take place, but we all thought that Ken Lay was leaving Enron and that he had been asked by the Bush administration to join his administration. But that wasn't the case at all. It was Jeff Skilling announcing that he was stepping down as a CEO.
So, all of the things, all of the schemes, and Jeff just couldn't just live with himself after everything. Everything is just breaking down where it's just like, how am I living with myself? How am I keeping up with this? And you just see it. It's just like, wow. How long can you stay? How long can you live with the lie? But let's continue.
And that took everyone by surprise. No one could believe that.
CEOs generally don't just resign out of the blue without a well-orchestrated PR campaign beforehand to pave the way so there's no disruption, there's no questions, there's no front-page stories, which of course is exactly what happened. It was at that point that I knew the architect of the disaster knows that it's crumbling and the rat is leaving the sinking ship.
There we go.
2 days later, I met with him and Ken Lay.
All right, so, and this is one of those things where it's just like, if you see it in a company that you're in, run. Get a backup plan. When you see CEOs or executives that's been with the companies for multiple years decide to up and leave, you need to have you a backup plan. You need to have a plan where you can get the fuck out. Because that right there it's not good when you see that. It's not something that you can say, oh, yeah, that's just a one-off. No, it's not just a one-off. It is something that is quite telling of what's going on. And the fact that it just happened out of the blue like that is also very fucking telling. Very fucking telling. But let's listen.
As I had informed the company that I was going to downgrade the stock on Skilling's resignation. I asked Jeff Skilling, are there any more shoes to drop? Have we seen the worst of it? And I was concerned about the energy crisis that was occurring in California. Well, Skilling convinced me that it was for personal reasons. I left his meeting feeling sort of emotional because of the concern that he seemed to be showing about the relationship he had with his family. He appeared to be distraught. And I remember saying to an investor, if he's not telling the truth, then it's a good thing he quit his day job because he needs to go to Hollywood.
I left Enron on August 14, 2001 for personal reasons.
Mr. Skilling, a massive earthquake struck Enron right after your departure. And people in far inferior positions to you could see cracks in the walls, feel the tremors, feel the windows rattling. And you want us to believe that you sat there in your office and and had no clue that this place was about to collapse.
On the day I left, on August 14th, 2001, I believe the company was in strong financial condition.
I think he was smart enough, and he didn't even have to be that smart. He had seen documents that I think predicted the future. I think he was smart enough to think, I can get out now, and this company isn't going to collapse for a year, maybe a year and a half, so I won't get the blame. It was working fine when I left, guys.
And we know that just wasn't the case. We know that Enron fell apart very soon after his departure. And now he's, like, he knew what he was doing. He knew he was fucking up. Like, dude, you know you fucking up. But yet, you still want to say, I was innocent. I didn't do it. It was working when I left. Last time I saw it. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad that a lot of people actually fell for this bullshit. Drop that shit. Come here, Thrall. I need to put something on you, dude. Put that on you. Put that on you. What else can I put on you? Put that on you. Alright, come on. Come on, Thrall. But let's continue.
After Skilling resigned, Enron's chairman, Ken Lay, took over as CEO.
Boy, I didn't expect that. But thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I'm delighted to be back. I'm sorry Jeff did resign.
It was a stunning announcement that he was stepping down as the CEO. And I think the flags started going up at that point for everybody.
We are facing a number of challenges, but we're managing them. Indeed, I think the worst of that's behind us, and the business is doing great. We're not the only stock that's decreased in value this year. It's just that we've been hit a little harder than many others. If a few of these other problems disappear, like California, like India, I think the worst is over, and I'm excited.
August 14th, 2001, Jeff Skilling abruptly resigns. I mean, that made me angry. It made loads of employees angry. I mean, there was a real sense of betrayal by the employees. I mean, this was, you know, Jim Jones feeding us the Kool-Aid and then deciding not to drink it himself.
The day after Skilling resigned, Sharon Watkins sent a letter to Ken Lay.
All right, so you see Skilling resigning, and you see this whole thing about, okay, so what's next? What else is about to happen? What the shoe is about to drop? And you just see all the damage control. And let's continue. Let's just continue.
We will begin with Ms. Watkins.
I am Sharon Watkins.
Would you identify your counsel for the committee?
Yes, my counsel is Mr. Philip Hilder.
When you hear the story for the first time, it's unbelievable. What Sharon was telling me was more than accounting irregularities as such. I mean, it was a massive fraud of enormous proportions.
In mid to late June of 2001, upon the resignation of Cliff Baxter, I went to work directly for Mr. Fastow.
It has evolved to the corporate crime of the century.
I was highly alarmed by the information I was receiving.
What Sharon Watkins discovered began the unraveling of Fastow's complex partnerships.
Andy put me in charge of this asset listing, and there were about a dozen assets that had been hedged with one of Andy's entities, the Raptors. And so I was working with a spreadsheet, and you know, the math just didn't add up. It didn't make.
So with Lay being the idiot, useful idiot, and now you see that, you know, Jeff Skilling is gone. Fastow, who had some sort of, I wouldn't even say some sort of check, but Fastow, who he wasn't as good as hiding the shit that Skilling was able to do. And he got somebody in that was fucking honest. But let's continue.
Sense to me. I mean, accounting doesn't get that creative. You know, I couldn't believe that Arthur Andersen had signed off on it. I couldn't believe that so many people were going along.
Behind Fastow's partnerships were enormous guarantees of Enron's stock. Fastow had gambled Enron's future on the hope that its stock would never fall.
My first reaction was that I should warn Ken Lay. The day after Skilling left.
So, and this is a thing. This is the thing that I fucking hate about corporate greed. They always think, no, the party's going to keep going. The party's going to keep going until it doesn't anymore. Until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it screws everybody. everyone. But let's continue.
I sent this one-page anonymous letter, but within a week I was meeting with Kinlay. I'd identified myself in the hopes of really making my point that Enron needed to address this situation. I mean, companies rarely get away with cooking the books, but when they do survive, it's when they come clean, not when they're exposed from the outside.
Ms. Watkins, I went...
Ms. Watkins did not talk to me, Senator.
Well, Ms. Watkins said Clifford Baxter told her that he met with you repeatedly to express his concern.
Cliff and Andy they didn't like each other. They had a very strained personal relationship, and Cliff's issue had nothing to do with the appropriateness or inappropriateness of the transaction.
I'd mentioned Cliff Baxter in these memos. And I remember I made the comment to him, well, you're one of the good guys. You know, you were one of the people fighting against this, and it'd be all right. And he said, oh, I don't think it's going to be all right for any of us involved in this.
When I started working on the book with Sharon, I was interested in writing about a whistleblower. People don't really appreciate what she did and the bravery that it took in that company.
Andy Fastow would not have put his hands in the Enron candy jar without an explicit or implicit approval to do so by Mr. Skilling.
So, whistleblowers simultaneously is one of the best things that you can fucking have, and simultaneously hated by everybody that does wrong shit. But let's continue.
I can't for the life of me see what basis she would have for suggesting that I would know some of that. I mean, how would she know that? And I don't see that it's at all inconsistent that there would be some things I don't know if some people purposely kept me from knowing some things.
I felt like I was one lone voice within Enron saying, look, we've committed horrible fraud. And of course, all hell broke loose. Within 6 short weeks, Enron was spinning out of control.
Probably in more normal circumstances, I would have had a few more words to say about September the 11th.
And this is the reason why this wasn't as big of a scandal as it should have been. No, it was a real big scandal, but a lot of people just did not pay attention to it because it happened right around the time that 2 planes took out 2 buildings in New York. And that's what caused this. That's why it was so obscure. That's why you had to go back and actually look at this shit in you had a book about it. And this is why, like, they weren't shamed. Companies continue to do this shit. Maybe not with the illegality that they're doing it, but this whole thing of we're you know, making money, and the most important thing is making money. Companies are still putting profit over people. That's fucked up. But let's continue.
Just like America's under attack by terrorism, I think we're under attack. And of course, now we've got the SEC inquiry, informal inquiry.
The SEC launched an investigation when the Wall Street Journal published articles revealing Fastow's murky deals. Enron announced massive financial restatements. Investors began to worry that billions in mark-to-market profits were really losses.
As you can, of course, see, the underlying fundamental.
And here we go with the mark-to-market. And this is the natural conclusion of a mark-to-market price scheme, where it's just that, a scheme. It's just that. A way of people fucking... Come here, Thrall. I know what we're gonna do with you. Where's my encumbrance? Fuck, I can't wear that. Gimme. You're not using this. I need a chess piece, and I need to bring up my encumbrance. Let's see if that brings it up anymore. Shit, man. Okay, so that's not working. And you don't look good, dog. Give me that shit. Alright, so let's see what he gonna have him do. I'm sorry guys, this is taking forever. Put that in there, and you can have your chess piece back, dog. Yeah, that's a shitty ass weapon. Nope. Oh, cool. All right, so let's continue.
Fundamentals of our businesses are very strong, indeed the strongest they've ever been. But regrettably, that's not what Wall Street is focusing on, and I doubt that's what you're focusing on. This inquiry will take a lot of time on the part of our accountants and lawyers and others, but it will finally put these issues to rest.
At the very moment Ken Lay was talking to employees, only a few blocks away, Enron's accounting firm, Arthur Andersen, had begun destroying its Enron files. On October 23rd, Andersen shredded more than 1 ton of paper.
Wow.
Despite the rumors, despite the speculation, the company is doing well, both financially and operationally.
He was making all kinds of statements, reassuring employees, and not just employees, reassuring investors.
Wow.
We have no accounting irregularities. The company's in the best shape it's ever been in.
Now, from the standpoint of Enron stock, we're going to bring it back. We're going to bring it back. All right, we're down to questions, and I've got a few up here. I would like to know if you are on crack.
Wow.
If so, that would explain a lot. If not, you may want to start, because it's going to be a long time before we trust you again.
Certainly wasn't clear to anyone at Enron, much less.
So, yeah, this is the craziest shit, that they knew the ship is going down, and everything is gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be. Please believe me, everything is gonna be okay, and it wasn't. How much time do I have left? It's coming up on. We'll save the final 10 minutes for. You know what? Let's do it.
Anyone outside of Enron, it wasn't really clear what was going on or what was going to happen.
I know this is there's a lot of speculation about Andy's involvement. I and the board are also sure that Andy has operated in the most ethical and appropriate manner possible.
Bullshit!
The next day, Andy Fastow was fired when the Enron board discovered that he had made more than $45 million from his LJN partnerships.
Question, Mr. Fastow, is...
So, they knew he was doing shady shit, and they knew they was firing him. That's not something that you just magically do on the fly. No, they knew they were firing the motherfucker. Oh no, he's doing dirty. He's doing great. We trust him. And the next day, he's gone. Let's continue.
How could you believe that your actions were in any way consistent with your fiduciary duties to Enron and its shareholders, or with common sense notions of corporate ethics and propriety? How do you answer, sir?
Mr. Chair.
Let me guess. Fiduciary responsibility, fuck it. Corporate ethics? Ha 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 ha. Well, if I kept up with corporate ethics, I would have continued to do what I did. But let's continue. I'm being facetious, but not really.
Chairman, on the advice of my counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the questions based on the protection afforded me under the United States Constitution.
He pled the fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth. I know I added. Let's continue.
Andy, in many ways, I think he was set up as the fall guy. All of the Enron executives were saying, there's your man, Andy Fastow. He's the crook. You know, he's the one that stole from Enron, stole from LJM. He's the one that cooked the books. Go after him.
I've thought about this and thought about this, and it couldn't have just been a few executives at Enron that made this happen. If you think of the banks involved, Chase, Morgan, Citibank,
No, I'm sorry, guy. You paused there when it wasn't supposed to be a pause. It's J.P. Morgan Chase. Oh yeah, this is one of the reasons why the J.P. Morgan bought out Chase. Let's continue.
billions in loans. Arthur Anderson. What about Vincent and Elkins, the lawyers that represented us? There had to have been complicity across the board because it was all too easy. All too easy.
The Enron collapse was an enormous tragedy. This is a company that had over 30,000 employees, and clearly in a company that size, you have a lot of senior officers that have a lot of authority in which you place enormous trust. Clearly in this case, there was at least one, Andy Fastow, that betrayed that trust. To the extent that I did not know what he was doing, that he obviously didn't share with me what he was doing, then indeed I cannot take responsibility for what he did.
I never heard him say I take responsibility for a thing. Sounded to me like the wonderful movie Chicago. I was reminded of the puppet strings and the dancers and the tap dancing and pointing at the gun, the gun, the gun. I mean, everybody's in step but Johnny.
I can.
So, and then you see people are talking about Ken Lay in this way is because he did pass not soon after everything went down. And I know you're not supposed to speak ill of the dead, but they're all fucking around and hurt a lot of people with the business dealings that they had. But let's continue.
Continue to grieve, as does my family, over the loss of the company. Linda and I saw our net worth reduced from several $100 million down to something less than $20 million on a net worth basis. And of course, as you said, about $1 million or less in liquidity.
I don't know whether I'd be rather be shot as a crook or as an idiot.
I believe the only venue for me is the ride of broken dreams.
Oh, you mean the Enron ride? Let's go.
Enron hit the national psyche. It hit it as sort of the time-tested lesson, and that is if it looks too good to be true, sometimes it is.
We're all gonna be rich!
We broke even!
No. All right, guys. We've been doing this ride for a while, and let's just cut it off here. I'm gonna actually come back tomorrow, probably early in the morning, and actually do some reflecting of it. I want to thank everybody who's watching, and we're gonna do the conclusion tomorrow. Thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.